What's it all about, John? All right, I wonder if anybody's going to be watching this. Welcome. Obviously, it's a little bit late considering obviously what are we now, like 10 plus 13th of January 2020. But we are doing the 29 games of the year. Obviously, have I done this for the last 2 years? I don't know. I plan to do it every year. So here we go. So I'm just going to hang around a bit, make sure everybody's ready to rumble. Stream, of course, sponsored by coffee. That's won the 2019 drink of the year, which is excellent. Right, Steve Man, are you there, dude? That's damn good. Maybe I should talk about some other games that are not games of the year before we get out to it. So what are some other good games we played? Saboteur, right, on the Switch, is a game from the Spectrum era. You probably think, well, why is anyone buying that in the year of our Lord 2019? Actually, it was amazing. Like I believe in the Switch version, they've added a load of levels that are like based on the old, mega bad graphics and that, which were incredible. It was shocking how they managed to like do a good job with that somehow. That is a highly recommended game. Saboteur 2 they also did, and that is good, but because you've kind of had the like excitement and newness of all the stuff in Saboteur 1, having it again in 2 is like, oh, that's fine and everything, but it never really added anything. So yeah, number 10 of the year, Wolfenstein Youngblood. This is a game that's actually got a lot of flack this year because Wolfenstein, like the reboot, was amazingly good. Then they did the Old Blood, which was again amazingly good, and then Wolfenstein 2 was like even better. Like they really focused on great storytelling, which is not something you'd expect from Wolfenstein basically, and characterization and just good, really good shooting mechanics. So for this one, they've gone to it's like co-op basically. You can play it on your own, but that's I think where a lot of reviewers just like destroyed it because it's on your own. It's not good. It's so crazily difficult that you need two of you constantly unloading all your weapons, like at all times, just to survive. And that's another thing in the review. You can actually level up, so they put in RPG mechanics in this, which is not. Although I love that in a lot of games, it's not something that Wolfenstein needed or was called for. Like it's such a straightforward like Doom type game that that's a bit of an odd distraction to like get level up. So because enemies that are much higher level than you now are like invincible, that's really kind of it's a bit off. That's not what you want in FPS where you're like running around shooting. It's like, wait a minute, that guy can just kill me and I can't do anything to him. But that's the thing. Having two players meant you could just about do anything if you're both really focused. Um, so yeah, playing this with my brother obviously was just phenomenal. That really elevated it and brought it into the top 10 of the year. And the special shout out goes to the final boss, which is ludicrous. Like the difficulty in the game is like, oh, it's quite high, and then the final boss is like it's almost impossible. We had to use absolutely everything, both dying constantly and resurrecting each other, and just final like bits of bullets and finish him off and end the game. So it could not have got harder than that. So I'm glad that was the end. So yeah, that's the number 10 of the year. Right, let's move on to number 9. It's Blazing Chrome. This is a great game, and it's a good story how these guys like got to where they are. So that Joy Masher in the corner there is the developer. They did that game we streamed called Oniken, which was fine. Like it's not really very good. Like not a game I'd ever play again, and certainly would never touch like a game of the year list. And it's like okay, this team's got some chops. They know how to do like a Contra game. It's basically a 2D Contra. I don't really say rip off because it has its own ideas, but that's exactly run and gun is what you're doing. It's co-op. But this is like their next attempt at that. It's a few years later. It's obviously 2019. That's what this game's are. And it's amazing. Like they really got everything right. The feel of it is great. The variety this time is really good. The boss is much better and more enjoyable and like varied. And the thing that really got it onto my game of the year list is the music, which is absolutely incredible. Like this is probably one of the most listened to soundtracks this year. I've just been listening to it on repeat for like days in a row. Um, Annoyingly, it's always the thing when you just do this off the cuff. One of the things I really want to mention at the start is I only put games. Hey, Scribber, welcome, dude. I only put games on this list that I've finished in the year, so that's why there'll be a lot of games where you're like, oh, isn't that not good enough? It's because I don't know. I feel like I need to have finished the game to like understand it totally and put it on the list, and that actually turned out to be very like to me good choice this year because there was one game that people thought was good and the ending was terrible and ruined it, and there's some games that were like, oh, that's good, and the ending elevated it to being absolutely phenomenal. So I'm really glad I did that. Like that's not how most reviewers want to do things, but yeah. So the only games that I've finished this year in 2019 will be on this list. That's your Blazing Chromes. Right, Jimbo, Wolfenstein Youngblood was 10, by the way. Right, let's go. So number 8, Bloodstained, Ritual of the Night. So this is a Kickstarter from the creator of Castlevania, Eager. I can't remember his second name annoyingly. Um, really, really good. So this is like the opposite of the Mighty Number Nine situation, where it's another Castlevania trying to be like Symphony of the Night, and the I don't know. I actually really like the graphics. They brought that up to modern standards, and just the variety of play you can have in this. Like every enemy drops a different technique you can use. So there's about 50 different. It might be more than that. It might be closer to 100 different attacks you can have in the game, and you're free to just decide which ones, as long as you've collected them, and level them up individually and get like summons and really good boss designs, like this amazing sort of twin snakes going around a tower design. The music was good, but as I predicted, I think in the last game of the year, the Bloodstained of the Moon, like the mini game, actually has much better music than this, and I thought that was basically guaranteed because that music was like a 10 out of 10, and the music in this is fine, it does the job and everything, but it's not absolutely killer. And it's good special shout out in this game. Some of the boss fights were incredible. Like, the difficulty would jump in a very good, meaningful way. Like there's this weird blood witch where she can regenerate life from blood. That is, you needed to start actually learning what techniques did what and when to use them and when to dodge and stuff. It was really nice to have that. Like, oh, you need to know the game now. You can't just sort of blunder through and heal your way through it. And also there's like an extra boss of Dracula when you beat it, and it was completely impossible. So it's good that people who really master the game can actually, put their skills to the limit and actually get something out of it. Like at that point, I was like, fine, I don't need to worry about this. But all right, so that is your number 8 game. So well done Kickstarter for getting that one right. Let's go to number 7. Anodyne II is probably the game that least people have heard of on this list. Absolutely incredible indie game. This was on a forum I go to. They sometimes just recommend old games and say, "Oh, why don't you try this?" Probably no one's heard of it. And Anodyne 1 was on there, and it's like a 2D dungeon crawler like Zelda. Anodyne 1 was, and it's kind of not that great. It's not. It's kind of boring throughout. And then when you get to the end, the like twist at the end of the game is unbelievably good, and you can replay the game and do all this weird secret stuff. It's a bit like Fez in that it twists it all on its head, and it's phenomenal. And I just spent ages playing that Anodyne 1. So this is the sequel that actually came out last year. I hope it did. On this list, I'm pretty sure it did. And now they use like PlayStation 1 3D graphics and 2D dungeon graphics mixed together, and really good themes like about dogma and religion and what life's about, and you should choose for yourself about why you're working for these people. Are they trying to control you, or you actually devoted to them? Really cool, interesting story in this game. And some times in the game where it really goes off the deep end, there's some weird stuff where you think, where is this actually game going to end up? The only thing about this is it's kind of the opposite of the first one, where the game is fantastic, but when it ends, you're like, I really wish there was more. And the post-game stuff is kind of not meh, it's not very exciting. You're basically just like collecting money like you would in any game. So unless I missed something in the post-game, the actual game itself is great, and it's like one of the cheapest games in history. So I recommend anyone play this if you're into like retro graphics games. All right. So let's go on to number 6's. Aha, the only one I couldn't find an image that had the name of it. It's pretty obvious that this is Control, though. So Control is a game that's actually been winning a lot of Game of the Years, but for me, it kind of fell a bit short. Like, it's really good. It's obviously like a Max Payne and a Quantum Break time action shooter game in third person where you can actually fly around and you have all these psychic powers. Really good encounters where you have to actually use your abilities. If you just stand there and shoot and then reload and shoot and then reload, you're just going to die. Like, you need to be using your shield or throwing objects. And best game of like physics in the environment we've pretty much ever played. Like, everything in the environment you can damage it or use it or destroy it. Like, really good destructibility. So great game. But I was told that obviously the ending's gonna be really interesting because the whole game is about like paranormal and like sort of I don't know what another way to say it is, like magical things. But the ending was like just nothing. Like, to me, it was really weird. I think we must have scrap the graphics. And apparently, like, we've got it on normal mode. If you've got a really good PC, it's one of the first games that uses ray tracing. And they said it looks literally better than everything that's come out in this generation. Like, if you're using ray tracing, it's like a massive jump between anything we've seen. I don't think we can really see that in videos. Maybe you can. I don't know. But yeah, people said it is crazy if you put on like a good graphics card. But yeah, the ending was just like, okay, like that's kind of what I expected. Where people were like raving about it. So I think I must have missed something there in the ending. It just kind of petered out, and it's like, that's cool. Like, obviously we beat the baddie and everything, but so that's why it's not higher on the list. Like, the actual gameplay, and shout out to the ashtray maze, all the red rooms. That is, people always talk about it this year as one of the great moments, and they're not wrong. It's absolutely brilliant. So yeah, good on you, Remedy. I'll still buy everything you put out. So keep going. Also, the DLC sounds like it's going to be good. Right, so let's move on to numero 5's. Resident Evil II. I wish I had the sound for this. I should next year. I'll put like a soundtrack behind it. What more can I say? Everybody knows this game's absolutely like obviously original Resident Evil 2 is like a 10 out of 10 survival horror, and they put everything into this remake and just nailed literally everything. I can't think there's any bad point to say about that. That kind of tells you the quality of games this year. There's 4 games above this one, and as far as like doing a third-person shooter game, I played through it twice in a row, and I wouldn't mind playing through it again. To be honest, like it just does it. You know, the atmosphere, the darkness, like how that Mr. X works against you, how the two different routes work. I don't know, like the inventory system is still great. Like you know, I mean, sounds probably some of the best like audio in the year. Absolutely loved it. Shocked at how good this game was. We knew it was going to be good, but this is how you actually remake a game for the ground up. Like I like Shadow of the Colossus remake, but it's like it's the same game. That's cool. This is not. You need to play this even if you played Resident Evil 2 like 60 times. So yeah, buy and play this game. Everything from here on is just absolutely crazy good. So yeah, RE2, get it. Okay, number 4, Days Gone. Right, this is probably I think is the most overlooked game this year. I think loads of people said, "Oh, cool, another zombie game. I've already played Last of Us. I don't need to play this." They are wrong. This is I think I can say this without like qualify it. It's the best open world game I've ever played. Like it does what most open world games are saying they're trying to do, and they don't get actually manage it. Where it's like, oh, when you go out from your camp, it will be like a story. You know, things will happen to you, and you'll be able to say, "Oh, remember the time this happened?" Like you know, because they try and introduce like random events. This actually does it. Like it is. We've had so many times where you go out, it becomes nighttime, then crows appear, then you run out of fuel, then you get knocked off your bike, then you're like scavenging trying to find a fuel can, then you find like a hostage, and then you know you get wounds and you're trying to escape. It just does it. Like this is how you do it, and it's one of the longest games. It's probably the longest open world game I've ever played as well. So a lot of people criticize it for being a bit too long, and I guess that's fair, but it just kept on adding new elements, really really good story and acting. Just incredible open world game, which I think is really cheap now as well because it was underrated and people just didn't sell. Well, it sold quite well, but not as well as they wanted it to. So you can get this for the cheap, and you should because my god, this is fighting hordes is an experience you probably never experienced in any game before. Like trying to funnel them through and it actually is scary because they can just absolutely destroy you if they enemy. Just this game is doing it. The one thing I don't like is it's the same team as Siphon Filter, so that's why we kind of knew it would be a good game. They have hidden the taser from Siphon Filter, which is like the holy grail in the game, but it's so hard to get. It's criminal. It's like I would just pay money to unlock it, which is not a popular opinion, but you have to do insane stuff even with a guide to get that taser. That's disappointing. I really wish you just got given that. Anyway, so yeah, another game that I recommend. Not just about anyone should play this. It does everything an open world game needs to do to be on a top game of the year. Right, let's go on to number 3. Sekiro. This is a game that's winning loads of game of the years and rightfully so. Like, especially for me, right? Because I love Dark Souls games, just like probably most gamers seem to nowadays. But the thing that I don't really care for that like dark fantasy aesthetic where everything has to be black or grey or even like greens and browns. They try to make it as dour as possible in most of Dark Souls games. There are obviously bits where it's not like that, but Sekiro just does not do that. Like it's like amazing Sakura, like really bright landscapes, Nagasaki Warrior, just really beautiful landscapes, but also really good gameplay that they've got from the From games. Like I think I felt like I actually learnt the most in this game and kind of mastered it more than I have any Dark Souls game because you only had one weapon to master in various different arts. They ramped up the difficulty in really good ways. Like I think they got that exactly right. The pitch of which bosses should come after the other ones. Like I remember getting stuck on the ape for the longest time. That's probably one of the most frustrating bosses I've ever fought in my life. And within an hour in the game, you're then fighting 2 of those at the same time. And you just think that's impossible. But the way that they've trained you to beat one, and then you have these tools to help you fight the other one, that was actually easier. Like I love that. That's such a good design in a game where something will stop you, and then you'll never be able to be stopped by that again, even if there's 2 of them. Yo, dude, how's it going? Welcome out. Yeah, so absolutely loved it. And there's a specific enemy in this game that kind of sums up the sort of expertise in Dark Souls games that you need that makes me happy. It's like I don't know, it's got 2 long claws. It's like, I think it's called Crocodile or something. And when you first meet it, it's attacking so much, it just decimates you. You have like no hope to win. You think, is this enemy ever going to be beatable? But once you've seen its like, its strategies, you can flawless it every time. It just feels so good to turn, an unbeatable foe into just like a joke, basically, because you're so skilled. It really has a good feel in this game. Is it giraffe? Yeah, it's all like the metal spikes and that. You first see it in a small room, it's like, oh, I'm just going to die every time, great. And then you just can flawless it, and it just feels so wonderful. Like, I love doing that. Yeah, so absolutely wonderful game. I just love the visuals so much. That's what set it apart from the other Souls games. But it is, and obviously final boss fight is same as to me as a Bloodborne. I found the last boss incredibly difficult and just had to keep grinding away to try and beat him. And the same here, where you had to put in everything. You had to react so well to what they were doing, just constantly until the end. So yeah, well done Sekiro, amazing. Yeah, I know it's fine if everything in the game is that. Yeah, it's rubbish. But if you need to learn, you're actually. It's like they say all the time about Dark Souls. You're leveling up yourself. Like you learn what you need to do. You're not getting more power and more defense so you can just cruise through them. You still need to do the actions on the controller, but because you know them, you just freely do it. Yeah, exactly. You can send loads of normal people like who don't play action games into that, and they'll just never be able to beat it. You need to actually pay so much attention to the systems and that, and then once you have, you get rewarded in real life. It's not like you get 1,000 gold or whatever. You just now, if Sekiro 2 comes out and they have that, you'll just beat it, and then they'll put some new thing against you. So it's cool. I really enjoyed that. I thought, so Sekiro was like number three. So number two, number one are kind of predestined. This is exactly the same as last year, where coming into this year, there was a game that was going to come out, and I would have said to you, 100% guaranteed, this is a game for me, and it will obviously be number one. It's not going to get beaten, and it did get beaten because God of War came out. So this year, exactly the same thing has happened. So my number two, which would have in any other year been my number one, is Shenmue 3, the game I've been most wanting for like a decade, and it was announced. I just lost my mind, and it actually came out. And for me, apart from the ending, which is the reason why it didn't quite get to number one, it did everything. I couldn't believe this is a Kickstarter. Like the graphics phenomenal, the size of the town is awesome. Like they kept on adding, how big the areas you're going to and how much, you actually wanted to search the shops. It did everything. I couldn't believe it. Like you had to be in the Japanese dub to be honest. The English one was horrific. It was meant to be, but it really was. But yeah, I can't believe this game was, actually lived up to my insanely high expectations. And I can say, like, top two games in this list, the only two games that made me cry this year. So I guess maybe that's partly, what makes me think a game is as high as it is, like just emotional attachment. Like in this game, it just everything overcome me at one point where you arrive in this new town and you've been away from home for like years, and because you have in real life as well as in the game, it kind of heightens it. And then you see a phone and you get to phone your like quote unquote mum Fuxan. It was just that they handled that the absolute perfect way they could have, and I just broke down in tears, like, out of nowhere. It's not like someone died in the game or some massive event. It just got to me, and that is exactly what I was praying for. So the only reason this game is not a number one is because it's so annoying that it's not finished yet. Like it goes to another cliffhanger, and obviously, who knows if we'll ever see that again. So we're back in the same position we were when Shenmue 2 finished. But thanks, Yu Suzuki, man, you really did a good job with the money you got there. It feels like almost like Shenmue 2 level production values, and it's like a tenth the cost or whatever. So good on you. Can't wait for Shenmue 4. And number one, I think it's probably apparent for everyone, one of the greatest games, Death Stranding. Thanks, Norman Reedus. So this game had quite a journey, which is sort of a funny thing to say because that's what the game's about. In that, playing it throughout the year, I played it on and off, and I was like, this is a good game. I'm glad I'm playing it. The graphics, are phenomenal, some of the best I've ever seen, and the gameplay is great. I'm loving it. This is a good game, but it's not obviously my number one. It's not doing everything. Yeah, I know. Don't worry, I'm not going to spoil it. Although I would love to because we need to talk about this game. But yeah, the thing that elevated it is, I think in a lot of reviews they were like, this is a great game, but like they didn't really like the end bits for some reason. So I went into it thinking, the ending will be fine, and I'll just check out, and finish it. But oh my god, no! This game just got better and better and better. And again, the ending made me cry. I'm not gonna. That's the only thing I'll say about it. I'm not gonna spoil it. It was unbelievable. Probably one of the greatest endings in a game I've ever experienced in my life. Like it just keeps on giving more and more amazing things. So it's kind of like when Kojima's doing Metal Gear, he just keeps on adding insane twists at the end, and they're kind of super insane, like Conspiracy. Whereas in this, yeah, it's so good. I'm glad you've heard about this arc. But in this, he's using his mind to do a load of insane twists, but in a good way, where it's really just it keeps on like making sense of things and just cool stuff happening. So yeah, I love this game, and I'll probably never forget that ending. It just so many points. I was like, wow, this is going the extra mile, and it's just fun to hang around in and deliver things. To be honest, that's like another. I still will probably play this game some more. Just nice to fight some mules and deliver loads of packages. So well done, Death Stranding. Holy crap, what a ride! It absolutely killer game. So cannot wait for Kojima to make another game. Basically, he seems to always do it. So two more slides and then we're done. I like showing a holiday slideshow to my friends. It's great. So we got the the other great games that I never put a game on the list if I haven't finished it, because well, the best example of that obviously is Death Stranding, because it jumped up loads of places, and also Astral Chain, which the ending's terrible and it ruined the game. That made me not put it on the top 10, because if I'd have played 4 hours of that Astral Chain, I'd think, holy shit, this game's amazing. It's probably like number 3 of the year, but it dropped massively towards the end. So these are the other great games I wish I'd had the time to finish. So Jedi Fallen Order, incredible. Like they've combined genres in an amazing way. I'm still loving that. Really, really good hard combat as well. Loving that. Blood and Truth, probably best VR game of the year. Lots of Gov elements. Not been very well to do with VR this year, so probably won't be finishing that for a while. Fire Emblem Three Houses, which was great, but annoyingly, I didn't take my advice and I played it on an easier setting than I should have. So I kind of dropped off because everything was just I could just win with no even have to think about it, which is not the way it should be, and it's not how most people played it. So that would probably be higher if I, put the difficulty up and actually put more into it. Ace Combat 7, that's probably one of the biggest surprises of the year. The game is incredible. I never played an Ace Combat game until now, but the soundtrack alone is absolutely brilliant. And this is a game where a lot of games sort of forget this, and I guess people call it filler. Every mission in Ace Combat 7 is really different, has a really interesting bit of story that is really worth hearing and pushes it forward. And there's no like shoot down 10 planes or whatever. Or if there is, that's the mission, and when you get into it, there's a big twist and it makes it amazing. There's massive lasers, there's giant planes the size of a city, there's a space elevator. There's missions where you're having to hide in clouds against some kind of like mortar strike. You've got to, fire this massive like artillery gun to kill a plane. It just does everything. I love Ace Combat 7. I really hope we finish that soon. Devil May Cry game. I like it, but I don't know. Nothing is pulling me back in. It's a good fun game to play. Great graphics. I'm sure if you're an expert, it's really fun to just put together all the combos. But yeah, it's sort of a bit of a surprise that wasn't getting onto the top 10. And then, of course, Baba Is You, the sort of seminal puzzle game of the year, a game that I'll probably never finish because I've reached my brain limit and it's completely incomprehensible what I have to do now. So, yeah, check out a video of Baba Is You to see how weird it is. Yeah, which is annoying because I love DMC, like DMC3 obviously, and I actually liked DMC as well, the other one. So yeah, there's no reason why I shouldn't. It just doesn't quite, and I don't like playing as V, to be honest. I'm glad they have variety, but just don't really. Yeah, exactly. See, really seeing it. Yeah. That's good. I probably will play that actually soon. I really want to go back because I never finished DMC one. I got very far into it, as a youth. But I probably will play that actually. I'm very keen to. Obviously not 2, and I've already played 3 a lot, so probably will play 1. All right, and then there's just one final message for everyone out there. Oh, yeah, it is. It's like Ninja. Is it Ninja Theory? I love Ninja Theory. They just do good games. So the fact that they had that license really actually hurt them, unfortunately. But the newscaster boss was phenomenal. So they really did a lot of good ideas in that, and that's what they're good for. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think Ninja Theory would have gone out there and done it if they were not told you have guidelines. It needs to be a DMC game. I don't know. I'm not part of them, but yeah, me too because I love Hellblade. And all that. Right. Okay. Just one last slide. A message for you all. Go out there and play El Shaddai. A game I randomly played this year on PS3, and it's one of my favorite games of that generation. The art style is one of it almost peerless. It's unbelievably good art style. So just play that game or watch an LP and enjoy it. And I guess that is it for our Games of the Year 2019. Let's look forward to some good stuff in 2020. So yeah, FF7 remake obviously will be good. Cyberpunk. I haven't got a kind of La Mulana or Shenmue style ultra game coming out this year that that's for me specifically. But I'm sure there'll be a hell of a lot of good stuff. West Fantasy Star 5, man. All right. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me, and I'm going to go back to the beginning. Is it? And that is it for the games of 2019. Join me again in a year. We'll probably be streaming Shining Force tomorrow, so maybe join us for that. Thanks, gang. See you next time on Channel Olicon. Bye.